Watercolor Paint Along, Shades with Complements. Watch and paint along with me. Don't forget your definitions though. Hi guys, it's Mrs. Castle again, and we're going to talk about making shades with watercolor. Here's an example, and what we are going to do is first paint the main color first, and that's the oranges and the yellow or whatever other color you've got or you want to do, and then we're going to create degrees of darkness of the complement, never black. We're not using black on our watercolor. Most of my watercolor sets have black removed, and some also have brown removed. And some have a couple of blues, and some don't, but we'll get you what you need. And I also have magenta that could be another red. So anyway, back to what we're going to do. We're going to paint the same intensity of orange or whatever color you want, and then we're going to, like we did the tints, we're going to make different darknesses of the complement and then paint those over top. And we're going to do that, and when we did our tints, we also did something which was called a wash. And a wash is when you take water, with this brush, I'm only gonna put 3 drops to make my wash. And a wash is a solution of watercolor, where I take color. I am just wiggling my brush around like I did with my tints, taking watercolor, and I'm adding it to water to make it either lighter or less intense, or to make a large amount to spread all over my paper. Every time or whenever we are doing watercolor, we're going to paint from washes. That's why we're learning how to do this and learning how to manipulate the colors. So I'm going to test my green, and that's too light. I want a more intense green, so I'm going to get more color. And you will have to get your brush wet to make the watercolors work, like we did with the tints. I want more intensity in my color. And you can see that the bottom of my watercolor pan is showing, but there is still paint in here. We can see it around the edge. This one is not empty, and neither is that orange. And I'll prove that to you in a minute, or a little bit later. Okay, this may be all we need. I'm not seeing a lot of difference in that. Let's get a little bit more, and sometimes you got to add a little bit of water. Watercolors need water to make them go, make them spread. And we always kind of brush the excess off on the edge of our container. Okay, that's probably as good as we're going to get. Okay, so let's get our paper ready, and you really should do that first. And the first thing that I'm going to do is put my name I can pick up a piece of paper. I'm gonna put my name on the back. And put your period. I'm pretending I'm in 5th period. You put your period on so I can read it, okay? Okay, so I think I'm going to divide this into four sections. So I need 3 lines. So I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and then put 3 more lines. Notice my lines are not straight. It's okay. Then I'm going to put boxes inside my grid. Lines going this way and lines going this way, or a grid. Then I'm going to be quiet and all right, so like I said, I'm going to use my paintbrush. I'm going to get paint on my brush and touch off the excess. And so I don't have too much water on my brush. And the water and color in your brush won't go anywhere that your brush does not touch unless you have too much. If I just get paint on my brush and don't tap off the excess, look at that huge puddle I've got. Okay, that's too much. If I pick this up and tilt my paper, it's going to run. So that's just too much. But we can fix it. We don't take a paper towel and wipe it off. I'm gonna take my brush. I'm gonna get rid of the excess water. I'm gonna make my brush as dry as I possibly can. And then I'm gonna take my dry brush and suck up the excess water so there's no more puddle. And then I'm gonna brush over it to kind of smooth it out. And the color kind of spreads anyway, but we can always help it along. That's how you fix a spill or too much water. Okay, so back to, oop, I forgot to touch off your excess water. Too much water is bad. Okay. So there are my greens. I want them all to be roughly the same. Okay, so I'm going to, you can paint all of your colors that you want to play around with first, and then you can do the complements. And it might be interesting to do, paint complements in your squares and then go back and forth. And if you paint all your squares first, it will give your color, it'll give these colors a chance to dry by the time I get over here. But you have to use complements because we are not using black. I know a lot of students either weren't listening to the audio or something, but they wanted to use black when we were doing the complements, and there's no black on those complements when we were doing acrylic. So don't make that mistake with this. And there won't be black in there anyway, so I guess you can. Ooh, nice bright red. Okay, so I'm gonna paint my 4 red boxes. Oop, too much water. I'm want to try one that I haven't tried that's not on this one. 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to use purple this time. So I really want to compare how the yellow goes on top of the purple. And we'll have most of our colors done. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to the blow dryer and dry these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there we go. We have our tints, or our squares that we're going to manipulate with our complements. So I've got, and I'm going to first get okay. What I'm going to do first is use my full strength color, my red with my green, because those are complements. And I'm going to gently, without scrubbing, put my red wash over my green. We don't want to disturb the green, okay? And then I'm going to take a nice brush full and put it in my water there. Stir it up pretty good. And then I'm going to put this lighter over top of my green. Try not to disturb your green. And then rinse my brush, and I'm going to get 4 drops. Oops, I dripped on my purple, so you gotta watch out for that, but I'm gonna mop it up. And then I'm gonna take a brush full of this and put it in here. Just like we did with when we were making those different tints, but this time we're studying what's going to happen when we put complements of different tints of our complements on top of our color. Okay, so now I'm going to use some paper towel. And mop up my red. See, I didn't use very much paper towel. It doesn't take a lot, and I sucked up that little bit of paint. You guys are using way too many supplies like that. 2, 3, 4. You don't need very much paint at all. Okay, I'm gonna take my full strength green and put it on top of my red. Try not to disturb the red very much. Don't brush it a lot. Okay. Then a big brush full in my 4 drops. I'm going to brush it over top of this. Four drops, 1, 2, 3, 4. And get a big brush full of that, put it in this, and then paint it over top. So we can kind of see what happens when we put a lot of a color on top, a little bit, and it's kind of like a step gradation that we did with the pen and ink if you did that assignment. Okay, I'm gonna, small piece of paper towel, magic. Suck up, and actually, I'm even gonna suck up. Actually, I probably, oh, I have enough. I had enough holes anyway. Okay. But, okay, since I've got purple there, I'm going to put yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, so I can So after this dries, it'll be easier to see what difference putting the complement on there makes. This really kind of is starting to look very brown. This red is very muted, but it's pretty with the green on top of there. I'm kind of liking that too. That's interesting. And this is a nice shadowy color. So if you choose to use watercolor, this is a technique that you're going to use, and is layering or glazing. Glazing is a word that I did not use at all during the work part of the video, but that's what we're doing. Glazing is a technique, and it's an actual art word where you take a wash, especially with watercolor, a watercolor wash, let it dry, and then you take a different watercolor wash and paint it carefully over the top. That's glazing. And that is a technique that I really want to see you use in your watercolor painting if you choose to do watercolor. That's this one, and after this, you'll have a pretty good idea whether you like watercolor. So I hope you do. It's my personal favorite of all painting media. So I hope you had fun. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.